The Rockies have lost 17 of their last 20 games, and what the hell is going on with the Colorado Rockies? We try to answer that question next on the DNVR Rockies podcast. The honeymoon is over for the Colorado Rockies, if there even was a honeymoon to begin with. Shout out to Jackson starting us off in the chat. Welcome in to the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code DNVR365. Place a bet for $5. You can get $150 back in bonus bets. We are live from the Toyota Lounge, otherwise known as the Big Boy Studio. You would think that something exciting has happened to have upgraded us to this studio. But no, the Rockies have lost 17 out of 20, and here we are wondering if they can win 2 more games to avoid the White Sox record.
It does feel a little daunting now. Thank God they're at home against the A's, or not the A's, the Angels and the Marlins. If they sweep, I just want them to sweep the Marlins again. I want them to be 6-0 against one singular team in a season where they're going to win roughly 40 to 45 games.
Yeah.
That would be elite.
You know, I'd take 2 wins at this point. Just anywhere. Anywhere that we can get them. 2 wins would be absolutely huge. They, according to our nice countdown provided by our friend Scott, the Rockies need 2 wins in 16 games. And I got to say, I was trying to determine last night whether or not this is a combination of, or whether or not this was a byproduct of them playing a really tough schedule. You're obviously playing 3 consecutive series against World Series contending teams, and even the non-World Series contending teams are still good baseball teams that they've been playing. You know, you've got a team full of 22-year-olds for the most part. So is this growing pains? Is this inexperience? Or is this just some bad baseball that we're watching? And I got to say, whether it's one or the other or a combination of all of those different reasons, the Rockies right now, especially offensively, looked just about as checked out on this 2025 season as I think most Rockies fans feel right now.
Yeah, and it feels like we've gone back in time to the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. This is exactly what the beginning of the season felt like, where there's occasional games where you're out of it instantly because of the starting pitching, and we went through basically all of August felt like that. Yep. They were winning some games, but then late August, early September, it felt like the starting pitching was giving them no hope, and they were coming back in some games. They were making some games, some exciting losses. And now we're back to beginning of the season where one night the starter will give you a chance, like McCade Brown did last night. They only allowed 2 runs in San Diego. That's pretty solid against a really good offense, which Kyle Freeland shut down a week ago today and got them their 40th win of the season. But then the offense is just non-existent and has been non-existent all week, and for even longer than that. And that's where you get really frustrated, because if you lose 9-0 like they did 2 nights ago, you're kind of like, whatever. You allowed 9 runs to a team that's probably going to be in the World Series. It's fine. But when you're allowing 2 runs and not even able to get a hit and score 1 singular run, which they haven't scored a run in San Diego since 2024.
August 4th, to be exact.
Unreal stat. And I've got a stat for you here that I was crafting.
Okay. You came prepared with game notes,
I've got
with pod notes.
So the Rockies have scored 3 runs since our last podcast, total.
Okay.
In 4 games. There's one team in the MLB since Monday that hasn't scored 3 runs in a singular game. And I want you to guess who that is.
Okay, say it again. There's one team.
There's one team in the MLB since
Baseball.
Monday,
okay,
that hasn't scored 3 runs as much as the Rockies in 4 games in one singular game. I thought I would get all 29 teams. I thought for sure every single team in the MLB in one singular game would score as many runs as the Rockies. And there's one team that hasn't.
It's got to be a bad offensive team. Is it Pittsburgh?
It is the Pittsburgh Pirates, who I heard yesterday have actually scored less runs than the Rockies this entire season.
That's insane.
Which doesn't feel possible.
They just have such good pitching that like they're able to pull out some games.
Right.
I mean, you have Paul Skeens, so it's like if you can put up 2 runs in a start that you have Paul Skeens on the mound, you win games.
Yeah, you have Paul Skeens and then Mitch Keller, I believe, is their second starter.
Better pitching than the Rockies.
Well, but any team has that.
yeah.
But yeah,
quite literally any team.
I thought for sure I would find that all 29 other MLB teams would have scored at least 3 runs in a singular game. The Rockies haven't scored 3 runs since Sunday.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And I did see in the chat, you were saying, I think it was Dinger's Burner. Yeah, Rockies can't hit in California no matter what team they play. San Diego, though, for some reason, I mean, they are absolutely cursed in San Diego. The Rockies, like you said, haven't scored in San Diego since August 4th, 2024. On April 11th through the 13th, the Padres beat the Rockies 3 times at Petco, marking the first time in Rockies history that they were shut out in 3 consecutive games, including last night's game. The Padres have outscored the Rockies 18-0 over 4 games at Petco Park in 2025. That's not just a California thing. That is a Padres thing. I mean, that's incredible that the Rockies have yet again given us some stats that make you want to pull your hair out.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do tonight to allow the Rockies to score a run is I'm going to bet an unhealthy amount of money on the Bet365 app on under 1 run for the Rockies.
Really?
And
the Rockies will score 10.
Yes, and that will guarantee that they score at least a run. But I am going to log into the Bet365 app and put a good amount of money on that because if they get shut out again, I'll be hanging out on a late Friday night watching the Rockies game and celebrating a big win for my betting account.
Yeah, well, the Rockies have scored just 4 runs in their last 5 games. They've been outscored 4-29 against the Dodgers, the Dodgers, the Padres, or I should say Padres, Dodgers, then Padres again. Do the Rockies get a single win against the Padres this weekend? Because it feels like right now, yes, we still believe that the Rockies will avoid the historic White Sox record. They need to get 2 wins in their next 16 games. That should be doable. But is it going to come against a team that it shouldn't come against, like the Padres?
I don't think so due to the fact that it's on the road. We got a surprising win. Kyle Freeland pitched one of the better games we've ever seen at Coors Field a week ago today. That stuff will happen when the Rockies come back home, their final homestand of the year next week, but I don't think they win a single game against the Padres. And it would be we've had roller coaster season. We've had a few ups, a lot of downs. But can you imagine if they don't even tie the White Sox record and they lose the last 16 games of the season? It would be 21. They have a reverse 2007 and lose the last 21 games of the season, finish at 40 wins, and are outright the worst team in MLB history. It would be absolutely bonkers.
That would be impressive on so many levels and just insane on so many other levels. It's not going to happen. I'm going to keep saying that until it actually happens. It's not going to happen. The Rockies will avoid the White Sox record. But I think Scott had said, what did he say? The 16th of September. So I mean, Scott, you're feeling pretty close to that. The 16th of September is 4 days away.
Now that will feel like a big win.
Yeah.
If they get it by the 16th, that'll feel like big dubs in the chat.
Oh my God, man. And it's also funny, and this is just a behind the scenes kind of thing. We've been trying to plan a watch along for when the Rockies do eventually tie that record. But life is happening. There's things going on. We both have stuff going on. We're going out of town. We're doing Broncos watch parties, all this kind of stuff. And so we're sitting there trying to predict, okay, the Rockies might win this day, and then plan with production. Is this going to be a day that we actually do the watch along? It's been kind of brutal. So yeah, I would like the Rockies to kind of figure this out here pretty soon, so we can figure all of this out. But I got to feel like this has to be a little bit of a burnout situation for the Rockies. And yes, they're playing a good team. Yes, there's going to be growing pains. But the team that we saw just a month ago, coming out of the All-Star break, when all the young guys got called up, Bernabel was debuting and, knocking the skin off the baseball, and Ryan Ritter came back. You started to feel like all these pieces were kind of falling in line, and there was some excitement. I don't really want to go as far as to say that excitement was unwarranted, But I do feel like this is a situation now where like those guys back then, they had momentum, if you could even say that. They felt like they could win. I mean, Schaefer said it after every single comeback victory. Like these young guys are playing for something. They're playing for pride, and they feel like they can win every single game they're in. I would venture to bet if you hook them up to a lie detector today and ask them that same question, they probably don't feel the same thing.
You know what? And you know what's frustrating about that is, granted, we're kind of out of counting wins and losses at this point because there's a lot of counting on one side and not a lot of counting on the other. We're just trying to see what we have from these players, and it does look like a burnout on their side, but when you look at the lineups that they're putting out there, other than Hunter Goodman and maybe Mickey Moniak, a little bit of Brenton Doyle, every other one of the players in that lineup hasn't even played a full season. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it's just easy to play 162 games or even 100 games or even 60 games, whatever it may be. But like Tovar's had injury problems. Jordan Beck was in AAA for part of the year. Kyle Karros is new to the Rockies and just came up. Ryan Ritter's been in and out, but is also a call-up.
Jordan Beck got sent down at a certain point. Yeah,
exactly. So you have, like, if this was a team of a bunch of 30-year-olds, a bunch of Kyle Farmers, let's say you got 9 Kyle Farmers running out there, and you're 40 and 107, I understand a little bit of the burnout. But to me, this is showing more signs of like what we talked about in the honeymoon being over, and the fact that a lot of these guys are fighting for their major league jobs. This is not like, let's mail it in and get to next season. This is like, you're fighting for your career. These guys, none of these guys are established other than maybe Tovar, Doyle, and Goodman. None of these guys are established, and whether it's somewhere else or here, Mickey Moniak's fighting for another deal, and you just see the absolute disdain on all their faces every game, and I feel like I want to say that they're trying as hard as they can, and that scares me even more because we can't have the excuse of like, oh, they're burnt out. It's more of just, oh, none of them are good.
Or none of the, I mean, you could go even a step further and say none of them are experienced enough to be good yet. I mean, that's kind of what we're hoping for. But it's unfortunate because there are a lot of guys fighting for their spots. There's a lot on the line. Everyone who says, oh, it doesn't matter, the Rockies have been eliminated for the playoffs for the last 4 months, it shouldn't matter to any of these guys. It matters to them individually because each of them are trying to fight for their specific spot and the future of their careers. And so they're playing with a lot on the line. And like you said, unfortunately, it's just not working out in the way that we would hope. And that is one of the things I want to talk about later in the show is, what kind of guys are we going to look to see the next extensions? Are we going to see guys getting extensions in the offseason? Are the Rockies going to extend Tyler Freeman? Are they going to extend Jimmy Herget, who actually would be due for an actual extension in this offseason? Like, what's the next? Brenton Doyle's name comes up in that as well. So we are going to have that conversation later in the show. But also, what do you do with the guys who aren't performing? Michael Toglia continues. I mean, Michael Toglia, we'll talk about him in our next segment, but he gets called up in arguably probably the biggest opportunity that he was gifted with the Bernabel injury to say, hey, we're giving you a second chance at life right now with this call up. And Michael Toglia is 0 for 12 with 8 Ks since being called up to the big leagues. What do you do with him? His big league career feels completely gone. So the Rockies have, understandably, but more so than I think we thought when the second half of the season started, they have a ton of question marks in this offseason. What do you do with your minor league, with some of the guys in the minor leagues, Zach Veen, Michael Toglia, Adael Amador, those kind of guys? What do you do with your pitching rotation? Your bullpen is serviceable. It's not great, but it's not terrible. When healthy, you've got some dudes in there. What do you do with, your veterans in the offensive lineup, Mickey Moniak, Tyler Freeman? Do you extend them? Like, there's just so many guys that are just holding a huge question mark over their head saying, what the hell are we going to do with them next year?
Yeah, and the frustrating part for me is, so I'm just looking at the box score from last night's game, right? And you've got Freeman, Moniak, Goodman, Beck, Tovar, Doyle, Karros, Fernandez, and Toglia. Not a bad lineup. No. And you look at their averages, and I know batting average is an old stat, and I still hang on to them a little bit, but like just looking through, when you look at the Rockies record, you think, oh, they must have a bunch of Michael Tolias who's hitting 190 and strikes out almost every time. But you look through it, Freeman's hitting 277, Moniak 262, Goodman 280, Beck 267, Tovar 263, Doyle 243, now Karros down at 230, and Fernandez at 252. And it's like, when you look at that lineup and you look over to the Padres side, if you're just like a random person that doesn't follow baseball and looked at the box score from last night, you'd be like, oh, these teams are fairly similar. Like the Rockies have just as many guys hitting about what the Padres do, and the offenses are wildly different. And there's got to be there's just a problem with hitting with runners in scoring position, stringing hits together. You know, when I do my tweets at the end of each game, or now it's been in the mornings because I can't stay awake long enough. It's like I look and there's, you know, outside of a few, this last week is a microcosm of nobody's hitting the ball, but you look at 3 or 4 guys have decent offensive nights, and you're like, you're even out hitting other teams, and you're like, we scored 2 runs.
Yeah, they out hit the Giants multiple times and lost.
I don't know. Maybe it's a power problem. We'll probably talk about that in the offseason at some point, but it's got to be a power problem. When you look at the Padres, 260, 285, 272,
Power's
265, it's the same thing. It's the same numbers, but you have one guy that hits a home run last night for the Padres. You have Luis Ariz getting a single. He's hitting 285, one of the better hitters in the game. But, like, numbers-wise, they're just not that different. But it's just like it never fails that the Rockies just cannot score runs at most parts of the season. Yeah,
well, we got to hit our first break, but I want to go into break with responding to Jackson real quick, because I agree. It does feel like this endless cycle of we're supposed to be answering questions, and at the end of the year, we're sitting here asking more questions. So as we head into this next break, I want to ask you guys a question. Drop it in the Toyota chat. Why do you guys still watch baseball? Why are you guys still tuned in? If you are still tuned in, you know, we say we're sickos here, right? We're watching a team that's destined to be done playing baseball here in the next couple weeks. Why are you guys still tuned in? I want to get your input on that. So drop a comment in the Toyota chat, and we'll talk about that when we come back. I want to give a shout out right now to our friends over at Game Time, because the Rockies, after they wrap up this atrocious road stretch that they've been on in California, they will be returning home for the final home stretch of the year. And if you are heading out to Coors Field to watch some baseball one last time before baseball ends, you got to use the Game Time app. Game Time makes getting tickets for Major League Baseball and all sports, but especially baseball, easier and affordable, and it's better than ever. Their app is incredibly easy. If you haven't tried to navigate the app yet, it's so easy, even Spencer's 2-year-old could navigate it. I mean, Game Time has incredible deals, and the cool thing about Game Time, and we always talk about it, is the prices of tickets actually go down as you get closer and closer to first pitch. So, you know, if you're just wandering around next week when the Rockies are in town saying, hey, what do I got to get some evening plans figured out, what do I want to do? And it's 6:30 and you say, hey, you know what? Rockies play tonight. Maybe I should go to a game. Use that Game Time app. Head over to the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code $20 or redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
I'm going to be taking my son to multiple games next homestand, because he wakes up every morning and says, "Can we watch the Rockies?"
Let's go.
So I'm looking at Marlins at Rockies Tuesday night, Game Time app. I can get 3 tickets in row 6 of 117, so about 50 feet from first base, for 22 beans apiece. I might actually have to send that while we're on the show.
Not bad at all. Well, I also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays, because if you're going to be out at the ballpark the rest of this year, well, there's probably going to be a good chance that you run into some nice sunny weather, because what's the saying? It's sunny in Colorado 300 days out of the year, something like that. You got to have sunglasses for every single environment that you are in, and Shady Rays is the perfect place to go, because they have incredible sunglasses that can fit any place, any location, any environment, whatever vibe you're trying to go for, whether you're trying to go out with friends on the town and you know, go to a bar, maybe go up to the rooftop and watch some baseball, or maybe you're going up in the mountains to go fishing and camping, and you need some sunglasses that can, you know, withstand all of the elements out there. Shady Rays, incredible sunglasses. You cannot go wrong with Shady Rays. And the cool thing about Shady Rays is that if you ever damage your sunglasses, well, they will replace them for free. They'll send you a new pair of sunglasses so that you can make sure you are always covered, because you got to protect your eyes, and you got to make sure you look good while you're protecting your eyes. Shady Rays has you covered. So right now, we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code DNVR for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades. Rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, what's up, sickos? Welcome back to the DNVR Rockies podcast. And I asked the question, why do you guys watch? Why are you still watching baseball? And it's not a like. I don't mean that. I feel like it has some negative like connotation behind it. It feels like I'm kind of like grilling you guys. Like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you watching the Rockies? You guys should be doing something else. But I'm genuinely curious because like I've actually seen some people on Twitter who I know are huge Rockies fans who have like tweeted recently saying, man, I'm having a hard time watching some of these games. You know, like I'm kind of just been checked out. And I feel it. I mean, we Spencer and I love the Rockies. We love baseball. And it's also my job to watch the games. And there've been plenty of games over these last couple of weeks where I'm like, man, you know, I'm having a hard time feeling as motivated to watch some of these games as normal. So I'm genuinely curious, like, what keeps you coming back for more, knowing that the team is eliminated and also it's not playing good baseball right now?
If you throw up Jackson's comment, that is me to a T. I cannot stay away. I love the Rockies forever. Now I've got, unfortunately, my 2-year-old son is obsessed with the Rockies. So he's in for a long life during that. But I cannot stay away. And I will admit, these late games have made it easier to not watch.
Sure, it doesn't help.
The start of the NFL season has made it a little easier to not watch the Sunday 1:10 game. But I don't know. It's just part of my identity at this point. Like whether they go 0-162 or 162-0 on a calm July night at 6:40 p.m., I want to turn on and hear Drew Goodman and Spilly and Corey and Jeff Houston or whatever group of people it is, and I want to watch them play baseball. And it truly is like we call ourselves sickos, and that's the extent of it. It literally is a sickness to watch this team at this point. But I don't know what I'm going to do when the Rockies are not on anymore, and I have to tell my son, hey, we gotta wait till February or March, bro. Like, we have to wait.
No more
long.
Rockies night. No. Rockies February.
Yeah, Rockies game back February.
Yeah,
like that's
months away.
That's what I'm gonna have to tell him, and he's not gonna understand.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be on the MLB app on my TV watching old. And by the way, whenever I do this whenever he wants to watch the Rockies and is just having a fit about it at 7 a.m., I only put on wins, never put on a loss. So
sure,
we've watched the Rockies win against the Padres, which we were in attendance for last Friday, about 4 different times over and over again. The quick game recap that they have on the MLB app. I can't watch a loss. I can't flip on a recap loss. Watch the Rockies strike out 12 times.
Yeah, no 17 times the other night. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's tough. And I want to read through some of the comments here. And Scott says, because of the tracker, but it's part of my identity and this team as well as playing are the reasons why I fell in love with this game. Luke says, because at the start of every game, all things are possible, and because a Rockies W still hits harder than the coldest of Coors Lights. 100%, man. We say it every single time the Rockies get a win. It hits harder than any drug could ever hit. Like every single time. When the Rockies finally break or avoid the White Sox record, we will be celebrating as if we've won a World Series. And people are going to give a shit about it. People are going to look at us and be like, dude, look at these guys celebrating 42
Make
wins.
it go viral.
And we are going to be losing our minds because we're sickos. Because that's exactly why we do.
It will be right there with the excitement of drafting Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Wait, is it Jackson?
Ethan Holiday. God, I know what you mean.
Dang it. Scott Stallings.
Can we start a counter? Jackson Holiday. Ethan Holiday. There you go.
Ethan, our boy. But
I think that's number 2 on the season, by the way, for you.
I think that'll be that level of excitement when they win, when Victor Vodnik strikes out a Los Angeles Angel. Make it Mike Trout. When Victor Vodnik strikes out Mike Trout to win game number 42 next weekend, we will be to the moon.
We will be. Dinger's Burner says, still watching because I want to see if the young players are making improvements game by game, although it's getting hard. It is. And it's getting hard because you're not seeing those improvements. Like that's the truth of it, is that like you want to be able to sit here and say, well, this specific player is showing out night after night. And, Doyle has picked his game back up, which has been fun to see. Goodman continues to be on a tear. Mickey Moniak. I mean, there's little bright spots here and there. But overall, the Karros, the Ritters, I'd say Bernabel, but he's injured. The Tolias, who you'd be hoping would be making a comeback, like they're just not doing it right now. And Burge says, I don't know why I still follow this team. I can't argue that, man. I cannot argue that. It's been a long season, and we've been through the ups and downs, but it's been baseball is baseball. And the way I look at it is like this, and especially when life gets complicated, when life gets busy, when life gets sometimes downright depressing, like, you can turn on sports, and in our case, baseball. And like Luke was saying, you have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea what you're going to get. It is something where you can put your blinders on. You don't have to think about all the outside noise, and you can just be present in watching what's in front of you, good or bad. You can be pissed about the bad. You can be happy about the good, but it's controlled, and you know what to expect from that experience, and you get to just be present in the moment. And so, yes, the Rockies are a tough watch. No one's sitting here and saying that the Rockies are the most exciting thing to do on your Saturday night. But at the same time, it's, if you embrace it in the way of just watching sports and just loving baseball, that's the way that I like to enjoy watching Rockies games. And, through the ups and the downs, one day, hopefully we'll be able to look back and say, God, that we got through 2025, and now look at where we are today. But
yeah, we're taking it on the chin. We're taking it on the chin now in order to have major setback for a hopefully minor to major comeback. And I actually will argue that watching the Rockies in this exact moment, Friday, September 12th. 2025, is actually semi easier. And like in the comments where they were saying, you never know what's going to happen. You expect the Rockies to lose every game. And so there's no expectation.
True.
If we were in a wild card race right now, we'd be, yes, it would be more fun when they win. And yes, it would be more intense, and there would be more people watching, and you'd feel a little bit more like, oh my God, like, what if they lose this game? What if they win this game? How great's that going to feel? But I would argue that having no expectations going into all these games, like last Friday when Freeland shut out the Padres and had a great start, and they scored 3 runs, and Vodnik came in and shut it down barely, but he did. I was like, oh my God, what is this feeling? Like, this is so
but also
good.
Stressful too. Like, we were watching the game, you see Vodnik come in, and even though this game means nothing to the wins and losses, playoffs are gone, whatever, you're sitting there holding your breath as if this was game 7 of a, playoff series.
Right. So I would almost argue that going in with no expectations, every game that they lose, you're like, okay. And then every game that they win is a dopamine hit like none other. So I'm actually enjoying it right now because it's the games that are close, or the games that you feel like they have a chance. Like the Dodgers game the other night when they were down 4-0 before it turned into a rout 9-0, they loaded the bases. And that meme where the guy like sits in his chair like this and then he goes, locks in.
Yeah.
Like that's what I did. Yep. I was like, oh my God, the bases are loaded. What if somebody hits a grand slam here? You're
telling Sawyer, hey, quiet down, bud. I need to lock in right now.
Dude, we need hit home run right now. We need hit home run. And that didn't happen. You're kind of like, well, that's what I expected.
That's baseball.
Yeah.
In the words of good old Bud Black, that's baseball. No, it is true. And I am by no means advocating that I am comfortable with this team being as terrible as they are. I want the team to be a playoff team. But my family lives in Seattle. My mom is a diehard baseball fan, and because they live in Seattle, they're all in on the Mariners, and the Mariners are tied for first right now in the AL West. And in talking to her and having conversations with her experience of every night rides on what the Mariners do. If the Mariners lose, especially in dramatic fashion, it ruins your entire experience that night. You can't go to sleep. You're pissed off. You're all upset, and then on the flip side of that, when they win, the Mariners have walked off their last 2 games. She's like, then you have all this adrenaline. You still can't go to sleep because you're just too fired up. You're all hyped. Yes, I would still take that experience in a heartbeat over what we're getting. But there is something to be said about the peace that comes with turning on a baseball game and having zero expectations.
Yeah,
so,
and
silver lining.
We're in an only win situation. They win, we're pumped. They lose, we expect it. It makes sports.
I hate that argument.
Makes sports watching way easier.
It does. It's a little bit more comfortable. But
every other team in Denver right now,
at the same time, give me hell.
We expect to win, right?
Yes.
Every other team in Denver, the major 4. So Rockies, Broncos, Nuggets, Avalanche. Those other 3 teams, when the Broncos come on every Sunday, I kind of expect them to win. There's certain games where I don't, but most games I do. When the Rockies or the Nuggets and the Avalanche are back, I expect them to win, especially when they're at home. I expect them to win 80 to 90% of their home games, and then their away games, 50-50 or whatever. But you expect them to win. They have an expectation of winning. With the Rockies, you fully expect them to lose. So a win is, it's pure bliss.
It's different, man. I love Scott's comment too. The good thing about this year is it's made any other future bad seasons easier to swallow. We were literally talking about this the other day, Scott. I was like, man, I would kill to be like a 450 club that's not like the worst team in baseball, like the Nationals, right? Like a bad team. Like the Nationals aren't good. They're not going to the playoffs, but they have some moments where you're like, hey, this team's kind of fun. This team has some pieces, right? Like I'd kill for that. That would be incredible. I'd be over the moon if we could have a team like that. So I agree. Yes, we're the age-old saying, you can only go up from here. The Rockies have in fact hit rock bottom. And actually, our good friend Justin Michael, who covers CSU for DNVR, he does our newsletter, and he put out the DNVR newsletter this morning. And the big question was, is this officially rock bottom for the Colorado Rockies? We've had that conversation. I do believe it is.
We've had this conversation the end of 23, the end of 24, and now we're having it at the end of 25.
Surprised, we have hit rock bottom. We got to hit our second break of the show. After the break, is it time to officially close the book on Big Mike? And also, we're going to be at least seasonally closing the book on Chase Dollander. We talk about those two things after this break. Want to give a shout out to our friends over at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR and of the Colorado Rockies, and I absolutely cannot say enough good things about Toyota. And I got to ask you, because I know you've been driving around this brand new Toyota. Is it a Tundra that you have?
Yeah, the DNVR Tundra.
Are you ever gonna be okay with giving it up one day when Toyota asks for their Tundra back with all the decals and everything?
Yeah, January's coming quick. I'm going to have to give that back. Luckily, it does make driving my Tundra feel a little sad because of all the bells and whistles that the TRD Pro has. But I'm enjoying it. I'm taking it to tailgates. I'm trying not to, because when I go to tailgates and when I go to golf tournaments and all these other things, I load this truck up with absolutely everything I got. So I'm trying to keep the interior as nice as I can. I'm trying to keep the bed as nice as I can. But driving this TRD Pro is elite.
And that's one of the awesome things about Toyota. There's depending on which vehicle you get, you can get vehicles that can carry so many different things. Like I'm picking up the new 2024 RAV4, because it's a great family car, and it has enough room to fit car seats in the back seat, but it also has enough room for me to fit all my fishing gear and my camping stuff in the back. I mean, you can go with the truck route, Tacomas, Tundras, Highlanders. So many different ways you can go. You cannot go wrong with Toyota. So visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR.
That RAV4 is all clean for you, by the way.
Oh, you got it all cleaned out? We're just getting the last financial pieces ready, and I will be ready to go. I am so pumped. Want to give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365, because Bet365, we don't do ordinary, and neither do the Rockies. So this whole season, we got to do like a Bet365 betting recap show to see how you fared this year, because I know it's been a roller coaster of a year for Rockies fans. We do this thing, as if you're new to the show, called the Anti-Rockies Parlay. We've done it all year long because we realized at the beginning of the year, hey, if the Rockies are going to be bad, you might as well make some money off of it. And the Rockies have had moments where they've been good. They've had moments where they've been really bad, and it's been easy to bet against them. But it's been a roller coaster. How's the bets looking tonight?
Okay, so we are doing just simple tonight. Simple Padres money line minus 270, and Rockies alternative total hits. Oh, that's for the game. I don't trust.
You don't trust the alternative total hits?
No. We can add this in there. Race to 2 runs, Padres minus 160, because the Rockies will not get to 2 runs. And then give me this.
Well, like we said, use that code DNVR365 when you're placing these bets.
Yep, I'm going to just place this bet right now because I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and allow the Rockies to score some runs tonight. Team props, here we go. Team totals, Rockies Oh my God. Under 3.5 is minus 155. I mean, put your life on that. But if I go to...
They're going to score 10 runs tonight, of course.
I'm going to go under half a run. That parlay is... Oh, it's not letting me do it. Okay, we're going to maybe take off the... We're going to take off the Padres race to 2 runs. Just take the Rockies under half a run. It's plus 850 by itself. Rockies under half a run, plus 850.
It could happen.
Lock that bad boy in. I'm going to do it right now.
Use that code DNVR365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, Big Mike. So I got a lot of mixed reactions when Michael Toglia got called back up. If you haven't been watching a lot, Bernabel injured. What does he put on the 7-day IL or 15-day IL? I think it was 7-day IL with concussion protocols. And Big Mike gets called up. We did not expect to see Michael Toglia back in the lineup this year, so this was a bit of a surprise opportunity for him. And since being called up, he is 0 for 12 with 8 Ks. It feels like this is it doesn't feel like. I think we're all starting to realize, some late to the party, some have already seen this, that this is maybe a fatal flaw for Michael Toglia. We had hoped that his numbers in the minors and then at the beginning of this season were not indicative of his ability to make adjustments and to get out of his strikeout ways. But unfortunately, I think what we're starting to see and officially confirm without a hint of doubt that Michael Toglia might be too far gone with the whole strikeout situation. So is it officially time for the organization to close the book on Big Mike?
Yeah, I think it's time. It's over for Big Mike. Because when we kind of still had, we could have asked this question when he got sent down to AAA, and I think we did. We kind of touched on it a little bit, and you're like, all right, maybe he goes down to AAA and the Rockies have had some success, which that sentence in itself is kind of wild to say.
But Jordan Beck is a success story.
Yeah, the Rockies have had some success, and even in Michael Toglia, when he came back up the first time, had a good couple series back to back, and you thought, okay, maybe this is it. And now he gets maybe a career lifeline. Like, can you imagine if he was 6 for 12 right now in those 12 at bats and had like 2 strikeouts?
Yeah,
you're maybe opening up your career again to being the Rockies starting first baseman going into spring training of 2026.
The conversation intensifies for sure.
Yeah, and he has completely shut his own door on his career with this just terrible stretch. And granted, I don't like to overreact to 3 games and 12 at bats, but he is
against good
quite
pitching
literally showing you that what he has done the whole year is not a fluke. It's just kind of who he is at this point. So it will be interesting to see, April or March 28th of 2026, who they pencil in as the first baseman for the Colorado Rockies, whether it's Warming Bernabel, whether it's a free agent they go out and sign. Maybe they try to get Hunter Goodman to play there. Maybe they get Mickey Moniak to try to play. Who knows? Hopefully it's not Orlando Arcia, but I don't think Big Mike is part of that equation going into 2026.
So then the next question is, what do you do with him? I mean, can you salvage a trade for him in the offseason? I was talking to Drew Goodman about this a couple weeks ago. We were it was around, Mike had already been sent down, and we were kind of checking on his stats and stuff, and I was talking to Drew before the game, and we were kind of talking about this, and his point was, hey, look, if the Rockies organizationally wanted to go forward and try to trade Big Mike, he's like, even though people would say, you probably couldn't get anything from him, look at his numbers, like what team's going to want to take a chance on that? Drew's point was, every single organization out there thinks that they can fix what another organization couldn't. So when you look at a guy with Mike's power and his ability to hit the ball far when he does make contact, a different organization can say, well, look, that's the Rockies. Like, let's get him with our guys. Let's get him with our hitting coaches, with our organizational management, with our stats and all of our analytics and all data and analytics and all of that kind of stuff. We'll fix him. So I think if I'm Bill Schmidt or hopefully someone new this offseason, I'm hoping that's a conversation that they end up having of how do we salvage the value of guys that honestly don't have a spot in our rotation anymore.
Yeah, and I do think new front office, or at least a change from moving on from Bill Schmidt and somebody coming in here, there's no way that they're going to see what he's done this year and look at if they do a whole roster deep dive, there's some potential gems in this Rockies lineup even now as they're scoring 0 runs for every game, it feels like. But I think he's one of the guys that you can kind of just pass over in terms of, I don't even think there's a second conversation with it. Like the Rockies need difference makers if they're ever going to turn this thing around. And Michael Toglia is not a difference maker with the glove. We haven't seen a gold. Like if he was like borderline gold glove first baseman, not saying 190 is passable and not saying striking out more than any players ever struck out in the history of the MLB is passable. But you could think about a spot for him if you have some other difference makers. But the Rockies are full of so many role players on this team that they need to find some difference makers. And going into this year, we thought he could be one, maybe a 30 home run guy, and instead turning into a 400 strikeout guy.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this season needing to be a season of answered questions, which obviously it isn't. That might be a question that we have answered. We had thought the answer was going to be the opposite, that, hey, you check the box. Michael Toglia is your longtime first baseman, and you're good to go at the first base slot for years to come. Well, we're checking the opposite box at this point. The other thing is you have a guy in Charlie Condon who is a year away from being ready to be a big leaguer. I mean, his bat has been good in Hartford. He just got added to the what was that team he just got added on? Arizona.
Oh, the Arizona Fall League.
Fall League, thank you. He just got added to the roster in the Arizona Fall League. Charlie Condon might be making his debut next season. I would be surprised if he's not in the spring training rotation at least. So there's another guy. If Bernabel's not having the season that we want him to have next year, starting at first base, Charlie Condon is next in line.
Yeah, and that's exciting. We got
that's
Charlie Condon is one of baseball's top prospects, and thinking of him hitting bombs at Coors Field gets me excited.
Sure.
I have a question for you, though, just relating to all of these prospects, and we can start with Big Mike and maybe go to some of these guys. And in the chat, let me know what you think about this, too, because I'm curious if the Rockies have a new front office, and we talked about this earlier in the pod with all these questions, right? Do you think, whether unfair or fair, do you think it's in the best interest of the Rockies for a new front office member or their front office, just whoever their front office is in this offseason, to say that those questions are answered and just move on and try to do something new? Do you think that feels better than saying, oh, it's still another year of questions? Like if a new front office guy comes in and says, Ryan Ritter's not it, Kyle Karros, not it, Warming Bernabel, not it. Like, do you think that's do you think that makes it feel better going into next year of just writing off all of these guys? I mean, Michael Toglia is clearly not it, and they'll probably get written off, but all these other guys that
like
are
Zach
question
Veen,
marks,
like Amador.
Yeah, they just come in and say, I've seen enough, and fair or unfair, these guys are all done.
So like you're saying, go scorched earth like Minnesota did this trade deadline, which I know theirs was financial reasons, but given what we've seen out of the Colorado Rockies this year, and the lack of, I think Isaac Stevens, who was watching one of our previous shows, put this in the chat maybe it was about a week ago. The Rockies have a severe lack of, even with the young guys, lack of player tools. Think of Hunter Goodman has a plus power tool, right? Mickey Moniak, same thing. You could even say Michael Toglia, although the tool isn't big enough to offset his strikeouts. Like he's got a plus power tool. He could be a guy who could hit 30 home runs if he could figure out how to not strike out. The Rockies don't have a lot of those guys. The Rockies really do not have a lot of guys. The Ryan Ritters, the Braxton Fulfords, the Zach Veens are kind of average big leaguers on paper from a analytical standpoint. So I'd kind of be okay with it. I mean, look, what we've seen this year is not good. And yes, the roster is filled with 22-year-olds, but it's still not good. And as someone pointed out earlier in the chat, the Rockies farm system ranks 24th out of 30. Like nothing about what's happening right now is good. So if someone comes in and says, I want to flip this table upside down and completely like turn everything inside out, I kind of can't argue against that. Now, what I would like to follow up with is, what's the plan you have to then start fixing that, right? When Sean Payton, when Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson got cut, all that kind of stuff, and Sean Payton comes in And the Broncos organizationally were trying to figure out how to pretty much start from scratch, start from a terrible football team to becoming a playoff team. They made some pretty intense decisions. I mean, you cut Russell Wilson pretty much with all the money that you still owed him. You moved on from a handful of players. You signed all of these guys. You gave a lot of trust to people that there were still some question marks with, and you said, we're going to trust you to go out and figure this out, and look at where the Broncos are now. So that's the situation I want to see the Rockies in this offseason is, hey, look, it's going to be uncomfortable. You can't go from being the worst team almost in the history of baseball to being a playoff team in the next couple of years without taking some risks, without throwing some deep balls. So I don't want to argue against big decisions like that, because I think we need to see more big kind of outlandish decisions if you want to really turn this thing on its heels. So it's a good question, though. We do have to take our last break of the show. After the break, Chase Dollander, and also going to talk about some any future offseason contracts that we could possibly see thrown out there this offseason for the Rockies. We'll talk about that coming up next. Okay, quick and easy. Now we're back to finish up this show. Chase Dollander. Well, we'll spend just a little bit of time on the Dollander subject. It was just announced that he is going to be recovering from a lower body injury, something to do with, I believe, his hip, or was it his knee?
I think it was a knee or an ankle. I think it was.
Okay, maybe lower body. I'd have to see.
LBI, as they say in
lower
hockey.
body. Him, Dugan Darnell, and there's one other guy for the Rockies that has been dealing with lower body injuries from a pitching perspective as well. Lower body injuries are tough for pitchers, but better than an arm, so we'll take that. But it pretty much closes the book on Chase Dollander's season with the Rockies, his rookie season. So we'll read out his final stats. He finished with a 2-12 record. 6.52 ERA. He had a home ERA of 9.98 and a road ERA of 3.46. What do you take away from this first year of the Chase Dollander experience in Colorado?
I'm going to go purple glasses here and be positive for a minute. I'm actually taking away that Chase Dollander's problems, while he had more of them than we'd like to see in his inaugural season as a Rockies pitcher, I think his problems are very fixable. Now, do the Rockies have the right tools to fix this problem? Are they going to be using a Allen wrench when they need a screwdriver? That is the question that
classic mix-up.
We'll get answered. But I actually think Chase's biggest problem to me is his non-competitive pitches and not throwing enough pitches close to the strike zone in the strike zone. That is a very fixable problem. And it's not, you're not looking at him like, oh, his stuff isn't that good. His stuff is great. And if we fix the problem of his control, get him to throw more strikes, then he will be the ace that this Colorado team needs. So I actually think his problems are very fixable. And while he didn't have the season we all wanted, I mean, a 3+ ERA on the road is very encouraging. Got to get the Coors Field thing figured out, which nobody has it figured out, but you got to get it as figured out as you can. And I'm actually positive going into 2026 on Chase Dollander because I feel like it's very fixable issues. Not like, we're not sitting here saying his stuff was no good and he gave up so many home runs, which he kind of did. But like most of his issues were he was pitching out of the stretch way too much because he's walking guys and then he's getting in these 3-2 full counts or 3-ball counts and trying to fight back. Like those issues are fixable. And then his pitch count rises super quick and he's taken out of the game early. Like I feel like his problems are something that the Rockies can work on, something that he can work on. And we'll see a not necessarily different, but a more efficient Chase Dollander in 2026.
Yeah, I hope you're right. We talk about tools, guys having plus tools. Dollander has that. He has the ability to be a Paul Skeens, at least from a stuff perspective, if he was able to pitch with the command that Paul Skeens pitches with. Now, we haven't seen that from him yet, but he has literally the exact same stuff. I mean, he throws 100 miles an hour on his fastball. He's got a nice two-seamer. He's got a good changeup and other good off-speed pitches that he can balance around. So Chase Dollander, if you can figure out his uncompetitive pitches, which I 100% agree with you on that. His uncompetitive pitches, if you can get that to a place where you limit those to a couple of those pitches per game, you're in a much better spot. I think Dollander will be fine. He needs to grow a little bit, and I think we'll see a better year from him next season. But I also still think it left us with some questions. You know, it wasn't convincing enough. While it was a serviceable first year,
he got you your first win of the season as a team. That was electric.
He did, and he also had a good final game. His final start against the Dodgers was very good. So I'm indifferent.
I think
right
this is good though.
On Chase,
this injury is kind of.
I agree.
As we said, as I just asked the chat, if we should just answer more questions. Dollander is going to be a question going into next year, but a question that I want to have going into next year versus there's no way this season we would have seen him and been like, he is the ace of the future, but we saw enough and we saw good enough things, especially away from Coors Field, to still have that question, which is a good question that needs to be answered in the offseason, spring training, and 2026.
He pitched against good teams on the road and was very good against those good teams. So keep that in mind. But it does open up the question of the Rockies now need a final starter. They have an opening in their starting rotation, at least for the remaining 16 games of the season. Who do they add in for their final starter? Now, I'm of the opinion I don't think they're going to make any big announcements. I think they'll probably just go with like a Blaylock or something like that. But could be cool to see Gabe Hughes popping in there. Could be cool to see John Sullivan maybe. I just don't think they do.
Let's see somebody that we haven't seen.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see.
Just give me that.
Someone new. But I'm seeing a couple comments in the Toyota chat on contract extension. So I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about that. I'll start with Scott. Scott says, Freeman hype for me is fizzled out. He's good, but when he's slumped, he's become less dimensional. When he was hitting 300 plus, it balanced out the lack of tools. I totally agree with you, Scott. Tyler Freeman does not hit home runs. He's hit a couple, but he does not hit home runs. He's a glorified Ariel Amador when it comes to his power. And you're right. When he's hitting 300 plus, when he's getting on base every single at bat, you say we got to have that guy in the lineup. He should be hitting leadoff for us. But when he's down to a 260, 270 hitter, and to be honest, most of that 270 that he's hitting right now came from that first half of the season. And there was a part in the season when I was working the Rockies game in the press box, I was doing the mental gymnastics and the math on what Tyler Freeman, how many at bats he would need to win the batting title. Yeah,
that's where he was.
He was.
April and May, June.
Totally in line for a batting title. He's fizzled off. What I'm seeing right now is a slightly improved Nolan Jones. His defense is average, maybe even below average. He doesn't have a great arm. He's not super versatile in the outfield. His infield is as needed. But his bat, like I said, without the power, he is just a better version of, more on-base version of Nolan Jones. So he should not be a guy that you extend or sign a 2-year contract to or whatever. And not that you need to, but he should still be a big question mark in 2026.
He would be a perfect. Does he have another year? Or
I believe he has another year.
See, he is a perfect guy to me to trade to a contender. He is a perfect player for a contender, can play second base, can play right field.
It's why I thought he was going to get traded during the deadline.
Yeah, he is a perfect trade for somebody's top 20 prospect as a pitcher, like they did a couple of times with the Yankees and their relieving pitchers. They need to trade Tyler Freeman in the offseason. You're going to need at-bats for probably Fernandez, and this is all just assuming that they go with the same basic guys they have now into 2026. But trade Tyler Freeman, get something for him. He's got some average tools. He can steal some bases. He can play multiple positions. But like I've said over and over until I'm blue in the face, he's just another role player that the Rockies have that on another team could fit. But no, don't one-for-one him. Trade him for, well, it could be a 1-for-1, but trade him for a prospect, trade him for a AAA or AA pitcher that you believe could be a starter or could be part of your bullpen and move on from him. Not that he hasn't been good, but he's had a good enough season to generate some, I hope, trade value when they go into winter meetings and go into the offseason this year.
Yeah, you're not going to get anything crazy for him, but, he to me, he seems like a guy that the Rockies are going to do nothing with. They're not going to re-sign him to a bigger contract, or they're not going to commit to a bigger contract with him, but they're also probably, in my opinion, not going to trade him. They're probably just going to leave him there. He's going to be one of those consistent pieces of your lineup that you can pencil in for 2026 as a guy who's not going to blow you away, but a guy who's probably going to get some hits every few games. And I don't know. I hate that I feel that way, but that just feels like that's what we're working towards. But I see Burge says no contract extensions until there's consistency from season to season. We'll see if Hunter comes close to his production next season. I agree. Don't overcommit. We saw a good season out of Michael Toglia last year. Not that he was anywhere close to being where Hunter Goodman was, but he improved month over month. And look what happened to him in 2026. Now, I'm not predicting a drop-off of Big Mike proportions coming Hunter Goodman's way in 2026, but I agree. Take your time. You don't need to rush Hunter Goodman's contract. But if Hunter Goodman is a 30 home run guy or a 20 plus home run guy even in 2026 with a good high batting average and stays healthy and is consistent, I think then you extend him. You're looking at a bit of a Tovar situation, a guy who, although he's not going to have the Gold Glove that Tovar has, he's got a better bat. And so you say, all right, we're going to lock this guy up. The big question is Brenton Doyle. Because Doyle, yes, he went on a big slump in the middle of this season. He had come back from a little bit of soreness at the beginning of the year, and then obviously had the family matter that came up that was obviously, at least from the outside, it looked like it was playing into just him just kind of being in his head, just a combination of a lot of different stuff. Whatever it was, whatever caused him to be in the slump, there was just a lot of stuff going on for him in the middle of the season. He has bounced back and has been one of the best offensive players in baseball, let alone on the Rockies, at least about a month ago. What do you do with Brenton Doyle? You've got still a couple more years of team control on Brenton Doyle, but at the same time, he's starting to get a little bit older. Do the Rockies sign him to a team-friendly deal in this offseason just to lock him down, but also not overpay? Or do you still give it a couple years and say, we're going to wait this thing out until the last second just to see?
I would say with the way he's played the second half of the season after kind of I kind of give a pass for some of the personal issues and the things he was dealing with early in the season, because if you asked me the same question in April, I would have said I'm cool with not having Brenton Doyle on our team anymore. I firmly believe Brenton Doyle is this future center fielder for the Rockies for however long. I want to see another consistent, like if he comes out next year and does even 80% of what he's done these last month and a half, 2 months, I think with his defense and elite glove, I think he needs to be the center fielder for the Colorado Rockies. So I would like to see a good, solid 2026 out of him, and then past that, I would extend him.
Yeah. I think the next guy who gets a contract for the Colorado Rockies is none other than Jimmy Herget. I think the Rockies need to sign Jimmy Herget to, a relatively team-friendly deal. But Jimmy Herget, he was DFA'd by the Angels. It was the Angels. He's been kind of bouncing around from team to team, hasn't found a landing spot. And this entire season has been a sub-3 ERA when it matters most and when it matters least. He shows up and he closes the door. Jimmy Herget has been the best and most consistent pitcher in this Colorado Rockies roster this entire season. I think you give Jimmy Herget a 2-year deal for $20 million, something like that.
Yeah, I would.
$15 million.
I would agree. And I think Jackson had an interesting question in the chat, and this could be, we've only got a couple minutes, but this would be we could go on for this for a while, but it kind of relates to my question. I think there's 2 roads the Rockies can go down right now and in this offseason. So he says, in 2 years, do you genuinely see any current players in that lineup that aren't Doyle, Tovar, and Goodman? And there's 2 ways the Rockies can go about this. If they get let's pretend they get a new front office. The new front office can either, like we talked about earlier, say all these questions are answered, and then do what a lot of the fans may hate, but go out and get a veteran first baseman, go out and get a veteran third baseman, maybe even a veteran second baseman, depending upon what Thairo Estrada is.
Will Dick Monfort give them the money to do that?
Correct. Though? And that's where, these questions will be answered in this offseason and figure that out. But the Rockies theoretically could take the top 3 or 4 prospect / young players that they have and say, okay, these guys are going to be part of our lineup, and we're going to fill the rest with vets, which may piss all of us off. It may not, depending upon who the player is. Or they could say, hey, I'm going to give every single player that's on the roster now, the Bernabels, the Karoses, the Ritters, 1 full season, and say, hey, 2026, we are going full youth movement. We're not going to sign any vets. We're going to keep the Freemans maybe, or keep the Moniacs, guys like that, the Farmer. But those guys are going to be backups, and we're going to let the rest of these guys see what they have for a year. Or they could flip the table upside down, like you said, keep 2 to 3 guys, but then sign a ton of vets and do what we hate. But maybe the Rockies are a 70-win team next year with 4 or 5 consistent veterans in the lineup.
Yeah. And just a heads up, we are going into overtime. So for those of you watching on television, head over to thednvr.com to continue our conversation. That would entirely depend on the players because, if you're signing Sean Bouchards and Nick Martinez, we're sitting here crashing out day one next season. But, if you're signing Walker Buehler's type of veterans, then that's a bit of a different story. So, I think the we're assuming in these conversations that the Rockies will have someone new in the front office. So until we even find out what's going to actually happen with the front office, it's all purely speculative because we have no idea what's actually going to happen to the Rockies front office this offseason. We know what we think should happen, but we don't actually know what should happen. I do think, to answer your question, Jackson, from my perspective, if you look at the teams that are playoff oriented right now, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Yankees, the Mets, even some of the middling teams, the Mets, the Mariners, like those kind of teams, look at their roster and the guys that they have, the superstars in a way that they have, and even the Rockies superstars, the Doyle, the Tovar, the Goodman, you have to really be critical in asking yourself, do we have enough of those kind of guys to be a playoff team? Like, how do those players fit in to a future version of a playoff Colorado Rockies team? I do think Hunter Goodman could be in that. I do think Doyle could be in that. I'm sure Tovar could be in that, but you just have to have so many other pieces to be considered in that. And so I think aside from those guys, and I'm not going to include Jordan Beck in that yet. I haven't seen enough of Jordan Beck to be considered in that realm because you look at those teams and you see how insanely stacked even the average playoff teams are. And you got to be better than Jordan Beck is. You got to be better than that. You have to have a team full of Hunter Goodmans, and you have to have a team full of Jimmy Hergets. And that is the reality of it. So it's unfortunate because it feels like we're light years away from being competitive, but that is the truth. That is where the Colorado Rockies stand. And I hope that we have a front office that makes some uncomfortable decisions in the offseason that we can all sit here and debate for 6 months during the offseason. And then in 2026, we see almost a brand new team that, we get to just change things up a little bit because what's happening right now is just not working. And the Colorado Rockies got to do things differently. But I want to finish our show today. We've only got a couple more minutes, or we're already in overtime. But I want to finish our show by predicting our headline for Monday's show because I feel like these last few weeks have been absurd. It's been a roller coaster. There's been mostly bad. But if you had to predict what our topic of the show on Monday was going to be, what would it be? Given that the Rockies play 2 more games against the Padres in San Diego, and we are 2 wins away from avoiding history.
Something on the graphic of like asleep in San Diego. When will the next run come?
Sleepless in San Diego.
Yeah. When does the next run come? I think that's because I think they might get shut out tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday, or not necessarily shut out, but like the offense. Where do they find offense?
Yeah, where is the offense?
And it was way earlier in the chat, but somebody was like, I got to bet under 1.5 runs because Hunter Goodman is going to hit a meaningless home run in the 8th inning, which is exactly correct.
Rockies will be down 7-0, and Goodman will leave the yard. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. I like that. But all right, well, we'll have to find out. We'll be back on Monday for our normal Monday pod, noon Mountain Time. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Thank you, Kale, for pressing the buttons, making us look good. Hopefully, the Rockies can get at least 1 win in this last weekend in Petco, and then we can say goodbye to San Diego for the remainder of 2025. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys on Monday. This has been the DNVR Rockies Podcast presented by Bet365.